All right, all right. It is Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. What's happening, good people? As you
Yes.
guys know, on Fridays we like to get with extraordinary leaders. And hey, I am excited to be here with my dog Elijah Muhammad. This is going to be an amazing, amazing episode. So before we even jump this thing off, go ahead and like and go ahead and share because this is going to be an amazing dialogue. I've had the opportunity to interview Elijah 3 times, and every single time I leave with something that I learned that makes my life better. So Elijah, from what I know about him, he has a college prep course that is specifically created to help prepare young leaders for college. He has enrolled, I believe I want to say it's more than 20 inner
Yeah.
city students into college, which is amazing, you guys. He breaks generational curses. He has a whole family of genius pedigree. I don't know what he is doing, but every single one of his students, including his wife, his amazing Rib, has done extraordinary things in the community. They consistently push the boundaries of education. They have the youngest African American graduate in college right now in their home who is graduating in May of 2022, Miss Shania Muhammad. Man, everything about Elijah speaks volumes when it comes to excellence and when it comes to legacy. We always talk about choosing proper mate, which is something we don't often discuss. We often have conversations about what the wealthy do to preserve their lineage with the wealth mindset. And I get all of this information from Elijah. So if you guys are ever wondering why I'm talking about, just excellence, standards, thinking ahead and thinking forward, I get this from my guy Elijah. All right. So Elijah, welcome to Modern Manhood, bro. I'm excited to have you on our platform. Let's go.
Man, I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thank y'all for bringing me on.
Listen, we have been following your journey and seeing like on a firsthand basis the amazing things that you and your family are accomplishing, and it's just like they just keep coming one after the next, one after the next. It's it's astounding. And so even when we talked about when Donnell and I talked about having you on here like last year, so much of what we're seeing of you guys hadn't even come like to the front yet. There were like it's the person that we were talking about speaking with last year is not even the same person who's sitting in front of us now
Man.
because of the things that you and your family have accomplished. That is amazing.
Man, I definitely appreciate it. I would say, man, it's definitely a team effort, and what I admire most about what we've accomplished is we did it through adversity. So a lot of times that you hear
Mm,
similar stories like what we've done as a family, there's a lot more support network in place, family, friends, things like that. We didn't really
Yeah,
have that. We didn't really have that, and so I just kind of feel like we and I kind of say this all the time, but I'm like we got to be the evidence of God's plan because it wasn't just my planning
mm.
alone.
mm,
God definitely had His hands in it. And I mean, to whatever deity or God you pray to, I'm Muslim, but we study Christianity and other things like that. And I don't like religious divisions at all with our people because I feel like unity is our only option. And
Mm.
so it's about
yeah.
literally doing the work. So I focus on doing the work. But yeah, we definitely I'm grateful, I'm thankful. A lot of it is about strategic, intentional planning. So it wasn't just hey random. You know what I mean? It's you got to put the work in. So a lot of people that ask me, even with my program, it's called Prep One Collegiate Academy, and I
Okay.
developed it because I was just like, we're looking at different areas of reform, and how to better position ourselves because I tell people like in the African American community, you have parenting and then you have positioning. So the
Mm,
parenting thing
Mm.
is like, all right, well, provide the food, shelter, and the clothing for my kid, which is great. We need it, definitely need it. But positioning is intentional. So positioning is when you look at your child, you say, look, I'm exploring their greatness. I'm exploring their genius. And it takes you to do it. The child's not gonna know that on their own. And here's the thing,
Right.
if they do, you got lucky, man. You got blessed if they do. But
yeah.
typically they don't. So you have to be intentional about exploring their genius. And I look at it like my family to me is my garden. All right, so there's seeds being planted, right, and then they grow, right. So
Mm,
what destroys plants in the garden? Weeds do. These are things
Right.
that are growing that ain't supposed to be there. So you got to pluck the weeds out of your garden. The weeds are the distractions, okay? And there's plenty of them. You know, that cell phone, man, it's a dangerous tool in our day and time. And I remind, you know, I'm 41 years old, so I was born in 80, grew up in the 90s. I remind our parents, look, man, we grew up without that stuff and we turned out just fine. You know, so you're not, in my opinion, it does more damage than it does help. So I look at it, you know, without monitoring. And a lot of times the parents are just saying, you know, here's the phone. Well, I need to be able to get in touch with them. And I understand that when they're 16, 17 driving. Okay. But if you ain't got no driver's license, you ain't got no car, I don't believe that the phone is mandatory. I believe that it gives you access to the world, and then the world also has access to you. So a lot of the parents, as far as time-wise goes, no, they don't have the time to monitor it. But the kids, man, they tapping into all kind of stuff, and we gotta be mindful about, you know, what they're being exposed to.
Man, you know, sadly, we don't even do this as adults or understand like the psychology behind the impressions that happens from those distractions. I used to wonder, even then, like how come we had so many more Albert Einsteins back then? And all of these geniuses that was really, really rare because they allowed themselves to be immersed in whatever gift that they had. But
Absolutely.
nowadays, it's like we're not even giving it, and we have more technology at our disposal than before.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we don't think about it. We're looking at the benefits, and it's like anything in life, man. You just got to do it in moderation. That's almost the key. You know, whatever you're doing, do it in moderation. But I'm not a parent saying, hey, every kid should, you know, lose their phone that's under 16. I'm just saying parents got to step up a little bit more and monitor it. And again, going back to parenting and positioning, you have to be intentional about where you want to see your child. And then going back to the African American community, it's sad, but the thing that we're primarily intentional about is sports. So, you know, it's kind of like, man, we want to start our athletes off at 4 and 5 years old. You know, man, basketball. Hey, man, my son been hooping, you know, since he could walk, you know, or playing fight. He always had the ball in his hand. And I'm like, that's cool. But man, we are so much more greater than that. If we knew our history, if we studied the genius, the innovators, the engineers, the scientists, if we studied our history for real, and I'm not saying, man, Black History Month. I'm saying Black history is American history. It's our history is something that should be mandated in our homes. So another thing too, like, and once you do that, okay, so then you understand that, man, we can excel in so much. We already did this. Okay. So now it's just replicating something that already was done and writing out that plan. And I tell all my kids, they get up, we do morning writings. So writing is part of manifestation, man. I know the text, the email, the DMs, I understand that, but man, get that pen and paper and write your goals down, man. Write them down, write what you want to be in life, write out your plan, your aspirations, you know, write those things down. So we're real intentional about those things. And me and my son is actually writing, my oldest son, he's writing a book called Ball's Life. Okay.
So bro, I want to interrupt. And so I usually don't like to cut people off, but I want to welcome everybody who's jumping in and watching us live right now. You guys are hearing, we're talking with Elijah Muhammad. He is the patriarch of the Muhammad family. And like, we don't often hear people described as such, because what I'm saying and what I mean by that is he is leading a family legacy that we don't often see out here. Man. So what I want you to do, bro, is introduce us to your family. Just give us, introduce us to the members of your family, because what I want people to understand is what you're talking about, what that leads to. What is the fruit of the gems you're about to drop with us as you express how you have led such an amazing family. Introduce us to the clan, man.
Okay, so introducing Team Muhammad.
That's right.
So
that's right.
So my wife, me and my wife have been together going on 19 years. And she just recently defended her dissertation successfully.
Let's go,
a doctor. So she is officially Dr. Muhammad, and she graduated from the prestigious Hampton University, which is an Ivy League HBCU. It's number 4. You can go Google it. So she also has her master's in rehabilitation counseling, her LPC, her LPCS, her NCC. Like, she is literally one of the highest certified African Americans in counseling in the state of Oklahoma. So I'm extremely proud about that. My 20-year-old daughter, Rashay Muhammad, she got a multitude of things going on. She got a book coming out called 20 Things You Can Accomplish Before 20. So she graduated from Epic Charter School at 16 years old with a 4.0 GPA. She has her CNA certification, her home health aide certification. She has a 4-year aquatics career. So she has her lifeguard, CPR, first aid. Then she has her lifeguard instructor certification, which is the teacher certification. She can teach and train them. She has a CPR instructor certification.
Hold on. This is Shania or this is Rashay?
This is Rashay.
Okay, Rashay, let's go.
Yeah, this is Rashay. She graduated from Metro Tech at 16 years old. She also got her associate's degree from Oklahoma City Community College at 19 years old. So, and she's currently attending Langston University. She's working on her 4th graduation. Got a motorcycles license at 14, driver's license at 16. Oh yeah, she loaded, man. And she's currently
he over building the X-Men. Motorcycle at 14, bro. Go ahead, carry on, Elijah.
So she got some more stuff coming out, but she said she want to wait until she finished. That's kind of like one of our mottos is we celebrate when we cross the finish line. We don't fumble the ball on the 1 yard. We don't do that. So the other thing, my 18-year-old son, Elijah Muhammad Jr., all my boys are named Elijah. So I got 3 sons, and all of them are named Elijah. So my 18-year-old son, Elijah Muhammad Jr., he's a Cassidy graduate. A lot of people, if you don't know about Cassidy,
really?
Cassidy is
the best.
Yeah, Cassidy costs $22,000 a year. Is the #1 private school in the state of Oklahoma. So he's a Cassidy graduate. He scored a 19 on the ACT in the 8th grade, and he was also 13 years old when he took. He was 13 years old when he took that when he took the ACT. He also was the youngest DJ to ever DJ on 103.5. He was on a year-long Wednesday live show. He also he was the official DJ for the Oklahoma City Thunder at 14 years old. This was during the 2017-2018 season, and he DJ'd the Thunder Alley, which would have over like 6,000 people come out before the game, actually. In addition, he has his own DJ and equipment rental, speaker equipment rental company. He goes by DJ EMC. He's been DJing for going on 6 years now. He started at 13 years old. So he's one of the top college DJs. He's on a full ride scholarship to University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. He's an engineering major. And because he did dual enrollment at Oklahoma City Community College as well, he's actually a sophomore right now. So he graduated high school 2021, but he did dual enrollment and he's a sophomore right now. So that's him. And he got a book coming out called Ball is Life, which talks about the comparison between the strategies of basketball and the strategies of life and business, how you can cross over and apply that same skill set to life, because only 2% make it to the actual NBA. So his focus is on what the other 98% are doing that didn't go.
Hey, did you catch the punt? You catch that pun on the crossover?
Of course.
So that's my middle son, Elijah. We call him the Machine, Elijah Machine Muhammad. He's 16 years old. He's currently at a military school, Thunderbird Youth Academy. He did that just to challenge himself. When I tell you this dude is like freaking T'Challa, man, from Wakanda, the stuff the guy can do physically is just nuts, man. He recently did he's a 2-time state champion in track. So in the 800, 1-time regional champion, went to nationals, was ranked 28th in the nation, if I'm not mistaken. He 2-time regional champion in wrestling. So he literally can do it all, but his primary now is CrossFit and fitness. And so he did like 49 pull-ups, which is just insane. I'm like, dude, I can't do like 3. You tripping? The dude just he did an Artemis challenge where at his academy, and they ran 16 miles throughout the night. 50-pound pack on. So boots. I mean, like the dude really pushes the limit. He also does construction. So I mean, he can build almost anything, and he's worked with two different construction companies of associates of mine, and I mean, they just love him and his work ethic. We call him the Machine Man because anything he puts his mind to, he accomplishes. He was at Dell City, I want to say 2 years ago, Dell City High School as a freshman. He had a 4.0. He ran varsity cross country. He did varsity wrestling and varsity track. So he was a 3-time letterman as a freshman with a 4.0 before I put him in Prep 1 Collegiate Academy. All right, bumping down to my baby girl, Shania Shakur Muhammad, this Mrs. Marvel right now, you know. Shania is 14 years old. She started college at 13 years old. She's the youngest African American to ever attend OU, and she went on campus. It wasn't online. She went on campus in person, even during the pandemic, and went to OU. She's the youngest to attend Oklahoma City Community College. She's the youngest to attend University of Arkansas at Palm Bluff. She's the youngest to attend Langston University. So she's on a full ride scholarship. She just recently got the 1890 USD 1890 National Scholarship, which provides a full ride to 19 different HBCUs, including Southern, FAMU, Prairie View, A&M. I mean, North Carolina A&T, Alabama A&M. So it covers, it's a full comprehensive mobile scholarship, which is so powerful. Books, fees, dorm, room, and board. It also covers an internship and guarantees you a position with the USDA upon graduation. So it was just phenomenal. But she's also the youngest McCabe Scholar at Langston as well. So she's graduating on May 14th with associate's degree from Oklahoma City Community College and Langston University. And the crazy thing about it is they're on the same day. So at 10 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, she'll be at Langston crossing the stage. And then at 5 o'clock, she'll be at Oklahoma City Community College crossing the stage. And I'm like, man, that's going to be a busy day for us. But in addition to that, she's graduating with the highest academic honor. So it's not just like, she's graduating. Her cumulative GPA right now is a 3.8, which places her in the cum laude, is summa cum laude, which is the highest academic honor you can get at Langston University. That's Shania. All right, my baby boy, Elijah Muhammad. This is the third Elijah Muhammad. Chupa the Bull. He is a 10-time national champion in wrestling, 3-time state champion, 3 division state champion, 2-time U.S. Junior Olympic champion. He set the national record for the fastest pin at Reno Worlds, which was 5-second pin. He pinned the kid in 5 seconds at a national tournament. He also completed the fastest 4 matches. One match is 3 minutes. He completed 4 matches in 65 seconds. So, like, yeah, the dude is like a beast. In addition to that, they actually in the 3rd grade, this a lot of people don't know just the academic balance that he has in addition to the sports, but they have a 3rd grade reading test in Oklahoma that they tell any parent that got kids, they're in the 3rd grade, they got to pass that 3rd grade reading test. Chupa is his nickname. Chupa scored so high in the 2nd grade on the reading test, they waived his 3rd grade reading test. He didn't even have to take it. His scores, he was reading in the 2nd grade, he was reading on a 5th grade level in the 2nd grade. And they literally gave us a voucher that said he does not have to take the state mandated 3rd grade reading test.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, we was tickled by that. Also, he currently studies robotic engineering and computer engineering. So he literally builds robots now in real time. He builds them, and then he also codes computers. So I know he's working like on his 2nd website, but yeah, the dude is like a genius. Super
man. Wow. Listen, I gotta ask you, what is the formula for the pedigree? What is the formula? Because behind every great player is a great coach. And so I know from reading the book and from having discussions, you sacrifice a lot. And the fact that you are so immersed in the world, like your children are your world, you are really vested to where you know detail upon detail of where they're at and their successes. And a lot of parents don't have that They're just not invested. So what is the formula, bro? Because you got a plan, the structure. I mean,
Yeah. Pretty much. What I say, man, is definitely it would stem from mate selection. Okay, I could not do this without my wife. You know what I mean? I couldn't do it without my wife, and that's really, really important, man. So when I look at the Black community, and I'm not knocking the single parents, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying when you're talking about greatness, this is what I liken it to. I tell my kids, I say, can you run around a track? Do a lap around the track with one leg? Yes, you can hop around that track with one leg. You can complete it, but it's a lot easier with two legs. It's a
I
lot
like
easier
that.
with two. You know, and so the thing about it is I grew up in a single parent household and I knew how difficult it was. My father, I grew up in the 90s, crack cocaine, gang banging, New Jack City, Boys in the Hood, Menace
Yeah.
to Society. I grew up in that era where the gang stuff was for real. And not having a father, my father was actually a crack cocaine addict. So I mean, I
Man.
seen it firsthand, you know, and not having a father around, it affected me deeply, man. I'm like, wow, like, man, like I'm thinking something wrong with me. Like, what did
Right.
I do wrong? And I didn't understand that. But I realized as I watched my peers and the things that we went through and struggled with, not having that father, not having that leadership in the home, it was
Yeah.
difficult. And so for me, for a long time, I was one of them kids at night crying silent tears, you know, because as a boy,
Man.
you can't
Yeah.
cry, you know, you can't, you know,
Right.
that ain't being a man. What they tell us.
Hmm.
So I was like, when I become a man, I'm gonna be there for my kids, man. Like I'm
Right.
gonna actually be there for my kids. I'm gonna make sure that I'm there. So that was one of the things. And in order to do that, we just got, again, going back to the mate selection, man. They don't teach this. And if
Right.
to me, if you ask me what's the most important thing to teach at home, it would be mate selection. And I say that because 50% of your peace in life is based on who you choose. It's who you
Man.
choose and who you have children by. And when I look at it, you know, I actually have a blended family. People don't know that. They don't know that all of my children are not my biological children, or you know, and so and then they're not my wife's biological children. So we have a blended family, but
Mm.
you wouldn't know that unless we told you that. And the thing about
Right.
it was coming together, putting a plan. And again, man, it's you got to be real intentional, real delicate. And it's not like it was a cakewalk for us, man. When I say we went through the fire, bro, we went through the fire. We went through it, like, seriously. And it was a learning curve because no one's teaching this stuff. No one's telling us how to do these things. And
Hmm.
what I kind of value in life, period, is not just where we're at, but how we're able to overcome adversity. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's
Hmm.
inevitable. You see a lot of people, man, when the sun is out and everything is looking good, and you know,
Right.
couples, individuals, whatever. But when you face that storm, because it's a lot of stuff, man, that just comes at you unexpectedly. Just like, you know, my frat brother Glenn, him losing his wife. And I'm like,
Right.
what do you do at that point? That's not something you forecast. That's not something you plan. But he
Right.
has to thrive and overcome. And some of the greatest people, man, if you study the greats, and I tell my kids all the time, study greatness. If you study the greats, you realize that none of them got there without going through adversity.
Adversity.
Man,
Heavily.
adversity, it's like that fire of
Yeah,
Moses.
man. You know the crazy thing about it when I think about it too is that character is only developed during trying times. And I
Yeah,
think the reason why most people don't reach that greatness is because they never place themselves in position where it can be developed, so it lies dormant. It's
right.
only whenever you go through adversity like that that innate aspect of yourself can be cultivated. But if you never ever place yourself in positions where you can be comfortable and inconvenienced, it'll never come to light.
No, it
Yeah.
won't.
This space, so I have to go through this a lot with my patients, and it makes more sense physically, but we don't take that understanding to the mental aspects and to other spaces in our lives. As a physical therapist, I'm working with patients who literally, like, hours ago, were under surgery. Maybe, let's say, they just got a knee replacement. So their current knee was taken out by their surgeon, and then they had a new knee put into it. And the
Mm,
first thing that we tell them and we share with them when they open their eyes after anesthesia wears off is, all right, we need to get up and walk. And of course, the idea is, what do you mean walk? Like, I just had
Right,
surgery. But that's based on the understanding that you cannot build strong bones unless you put weight on them. Your
absolutely.
mm,
your body doesn't recognize, oh wait, this knee, this muscle, this bone, this tendon needs to get stronger, tighter, thicker, more solid, unless you put the weight on it so that your brain and your body says, oh, we need to be able to do this again. We need to be able to get to this space. And that space that you're talking about, Elijah, is the same space we have to do for ourselves mentally and for our children mentally in like you said, an intentional yet delicate manner that really forecasts what we want to see for our families.
Right,
Bro,
right. No doubt. No doubt.
thank you for
No
that.
doubt.
Tell me this. We're hearing you talk about, the accomplishments of your family and the things that have been building for years. Like we're talking about this today, but only because over the past 20 years, this is something that you and your family have been moving towards. What does that look like for you as a patriarch of your family to kind of plan this out, or even try to see 20 years in the future?
That's a great question.
Man, I just always been like my faith has been strong with me for a long time. And I truly believe in destiny. And it's just kind of like, you got to understand that just like, I used to play football. So you study your plays and then you study the film of the enemy as well, or your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
I look at, I know that there's a force out there that's going to come against us. And so I project that and I plan for it. And I said, look, man, so here are things that are going to come against us. And a lot of times, like with basketball, for instance, you can be great in offense, but you got to prepare for defense as well. And a lot of times we go through life and we're just thinking offensively, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what, is interesting to me. This is what I want to manifest. But I also plan for the things that are going to come against us. I say, look, man, in doing these things, these forces are going to come against us, and here are the manner in which they are going to come against us. Let's pay attention to some of the opposition. This is working on the defense. So when you hear about, in sports, they say, defense win championships, you know what I mean? And so what that means to me, like just looking long term, I plan for the opposition as well. I believed in what we could do. I believed in manifestation. I believed in planning. I believed in family. I did everything I could to keep my family together, man. And and we in real time were attacked. We went through the DHS stuff. I formerly was incarcerated. I went through this kind of stuff. Went through the persecutions, through social media, people slandering my name, all kind of, I went through that. A lot of people, those locally may know about it, but the people nationally don't. But yeah, I went through it. When I tell them those pieces about, what I went through, and I talk about it like for myself, it's not something I project for my children because I want to give them the most peaceful life that they can have. And again, these are not things that were facing and attacking them. They were vicariously through me. But the thing about it was, I knew it was coming. As crazy as it sounds, I knew it was coming. There was no way that as an African-American fighting this system, coming up with something different to defy the odds and do it in a non-sports way, that I wasn't going to get attacked. And I realized that. And I give everybody this example. I want to talk about LeBron James because that's one of the guys that I looked up to. And even though he's younger than me, but I looked up to him and follow his story, man. This dude is so hated. It's so many people that criticize him, that talk about him. But when you really break down what he did, he ain't the GOAT. He flops. They look for everything wrong with this guy. But let's break it down. LeBron don't got no baby mama, bro. He got a wife. He got 3 kids. I actually know LeBron's sons' names, Bryson and Bronny, because he advocates for them and we know who they are. And it's a lot of NBA players, including Michael Jordan, that have children. But guess what? I'd put up $1,000 for real if somebody could just roll off 3 of Michael Jordan's kids' names. We don't know them. We don't even know what they look like. I'm just being for real. You would lose the $1,000. And it's always the Mike is better, LeBron ain't this, and that. And I'm like, LeBron built a high school, man. He built a high school that guarantees college. Okay, this dude never went to college. He never went. Grew up in a single-parent home, defied the odds, not a drug addict, ain't got 18 baby mamas, family man, support his son. And they constantly bash this dude. Constantly bash, you ain't, LeBrick. I'm like, dude, if you got a problem with this man, if you got a problem with LeBron, I'm questioning your moral standard. You know what I mean? Like, why are you tripping with this dude? Because one thing I look at, man, is none of us are perfect, and that's just like an unrealistic
Right.
thing. And you're gonna face trials and tribulations. And just like I said, in sports, this dude has broken so many records. People not looking at, he literally won championships with 3 different teams. And then when you talk about Michael Jordan again, you still got Phil Jackson that everybody forgets about. See, Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan's coach, got 11 rings, homie. He got 6 with Mike and
Absolutely.
5 with Kobe. How are we acting like head coach leadership don't matter? It does.
Bro.
LeBron, listen, man,
Yeah.
LeBron
Yes.
did this, bro. He did this without a field caliber, head coach. So he's galvanizing and putting things together, man, in 3 different teams. And I'm just not just speaking on the sports, but I'm saying in addition to that, he's an advocate for social issues with African Americans.
Right.
I've never seen Michael Jordan wear a Black Lives
Right.
Matter t-shirt.
Right.
I've never seen
Okay,
it.
so you're gonna start an argument, bro.
Oh.
It's gonna be a whole debate. So let's get back on topic. Okay, Elijah.
But this is topic though, and that's
I
the
got 2
thing.
questions. I got some.
Okay,
I
go
got
ahead.
some questions too. So I want to make sure we take control of it. Okay. So they said, how do you deal with siblings rivalry?
How do I deal with sibling rivalry amongst
Yes, because
my
I know
children?
I Shania and Rashay are both headstrong, and I work out with them in the mornings.
Yeah.
And I know that they talk about having gloves. And I know you guys are really team oriented, and you create a sense of union. Y'all really, really ride for each other. And it's dope the way you create union. So how do you handle conflict in such a way that you can keep everybody on the same page?
Well, here's the thing. First and foremost, they know about my siblings. Okay, so I literally come from a superhero team myself, yet none of us get along. Like, I mean, literally to the point to where none of us speak. So they actually, on my end, they don't have any communication with any of their biological aunts and uncles, like 0.
Wow.
And that's because we were pitted against each other. Okay, so our family was targeted and pitted against each other.
Okay.
And it was, who's the smartest, who's the best, this, that. I don't allow my kids to compete with each other. And one of the things people ask me is like, hey, why'd you name all your sons Elijah? It's for unity. It is very hard to say, yeah, I don't speak to my brother, and somebody say, you mean your brother Elijah? Yeah, I don't speak. I'm Elijah and I don't speak to Elijah. Very difficult to just deal with that psychologically. So everything when my family was being created, it was based on unity because I came from the disunity. I came from the chaos. I came from the madness. I came from the jealousy and envy. And I was intentional about that. I was like, no, that's not going to happen here. So even when my boys would wrestle, they would ask for Chupa and my middle son to wrestle against each other. I say, ain't no way in hell. Like, not happening. Like, there's nothing we're gonna do in any way, shape, or form to compete against each other. Like, much respect to what King Richard did, Richard Williams, and with the Williams sisters. Now, in our house, we look at that differently. I say, you see how they're playing against each other, on national TV for the money. Ain't no way in hell we would do that. Ain't no way in hell you're ever going. And I'm saying intentionally, we do not compete against each other. Now, we drive each other. There's a difference between driving each other. And I make sure that I definitively tell them that you can only be the best version of yourself. Like, that's all you can be in life. I never say, well, Chupa won these kind of awards, so, Elijah Jr., you need to do this. My thing is, help each one of your children find their own greatness. See, nobody sits the bench in my house, and you can't be a nobody. Like, we don't do that. Greatness is mandatory. That is the standard in my home. Like, you don't get the option of saying, hey, I'm chilling. No, that don't happen in my house. No, everybody's going to be great. And the reason, if everybody's great, nobody's jealous. I seen where I exceeded certain, my siblings in certain areas financially and things like, and they got jealous. And I say, you know what? If everybody was great, one thing that I notice is when everybody's great, nobody's jealous. Everybody's winning. Nobody's. So that was my thing. Everybody has their own lane, their own greatness, their own skill set, and that's what I push them to be. And so we focus on, like, we literally get up, we do circle meetings, right, to where we get up and compliment each other. Okay, so we sit down in a family circle, and you got to stand up and you got to brag on your siblings. That's intentional. That's intentional. It don't cost nothing. These are simple things, but everybody in the circle, make them get up and compliment each other.
So who came up with this? I mean, is this something you learned? I mean, because these are very powerful tools, bro. Powerful.
Bro, I literally, I mean, I'm not trying to sound funny, but I literally prayed about a lot of this stuff, and this
Let's
blueprint
go,
was
God.
revealed to me. It was revealed to me, bro.
Yes.
Like I can't take credit on, and I know that might sound
Yeah.
spooky
No,
to
no, no.
some
That's
people,
perfect. That's
but
actually
No,
guess what?
perfect.
Guess
I'm
what?
gonna tell.
Prayer really does work. It really
And I'm gonna
does
tell.
work.
And I'm gonna tell you the thing about it is introspection. We have an inner intelligence that surpasses all logic. We just don't
Yeah,
tap into it.
yeah,
And I think one of the things, even from reading Shania's book, Read, Write, Listen, from what I learned from that is introspection is so key in taking that time to cultivate a relationship with yourself. That's one thing I notice about your kids is they all have a relationship with themselves, and most people don't. Most
right,
people live in displacement or they live in disharmony. So there
right,
is so much more potential that's on the back end that most people are not connected to as far as the channel. So it makes
right.
perfect sense. I think
yeah,
also the fact that you set the intention, you leave space, and you create an atmosphere for those things that happen is so important. How many of us just get up in the morning and go straight to work, right?
Yeah,
Or brush your teeth or make the bed, but go straight to work, right?
yeah.
We don't even place ourselves first. So you guys are in such a good aspect where it's like you're devoted to you and your relationship with God at the beginning of the day, and that alone by itself could it's exponential growth from that point.
Yeah, yeah, it is, man. I'm really, really grateful just to, have the opportunity to implement these things. I'm thankful, that God chose me and gave me a blueprint that actually
That's
works. Because
dope.
again, my kids asked me, it was like, Dad, well, you didn't have a dad, so how did you become, this type of dad? I was just like, son, prayer works. You know what I mean? I know, again, I
Man.
know
yeah,
it sounds old school, but it really does work. And if once you have the vision, and I knew I what I thought about was I didn't want my children to be separated and pit against each other like how my siblings are against
Hmm.
me, and and each other. I just it disgusted me. I was just kind of like, dude, we're a family, grew up in the same house, and we fighting and warring with each other. I mean, in
Yeah.
public, bro, like just crazy type of stuff. And I don't care to go into all of that, but that's a whole different story. Just thinking
it's,
about
it's
that
a
tribulation
it's
that I
a
went
part
through.
of the past, but it's
So
Yeah,
how did
yeah,
yeah,
it's a part of
so
that, and it's important for us to really understand that from this lesson from you and sharing just that bit is that so much of what we go through and so much of what our surroundings brings out of us and tries to put into us is
hmm
not is we can take that, acknowledge it, receive it, accept it for what it is, but also look forward to building the life we want to for ourselves and our families.
absolutely,
Like so,
absolutely.
we can't ignore those things, and we can't just
No,
say that they, those things aren't important because they are. And so,
they
thank you
are.
for saying
Yeah,
that and
yeah,
bringing
they
that to
are.
the front, man.
Yeah, they
so
very
how did
important.
how did you keep from allowing it to drive you? Because if this is your upbringing, this is normalized, which a lot of our culture, especially being African American, we are driven from a lot of constructs and behaviors and beliefs that we learn growing up. I mean,
Right.
let's just be real. So considering you have, surpassed a lot of these things, you have not allowed them to be, perpetuated towards your kids. How was that impacted your journey? Because I know, like, man, I grew up in dysfunction, so I understand the role that dysfunction plays. I grew up in trauma, so I know
Right.
what role that plays. And as a man, these are things that you have to grow from, heal from, and understand so that you don't pass it on. But it's not
Absolutely.
Hmm.
always easy. That means that
No.
you had to get to the point where you say, I no longer find myself to these beliefs, and I'm willing to let it go. So
Yeah.
what does that look like in
For
your
me,
life?
man, again, it was I truly believe I know that God had his hand on me and he chose me for this mission. That's kind of what it was because
Yeah,
to this day, when I sit back and I just look in the mirror, I'm like, I don't know how. Like, I don't know how I got to this
Mm,
point. When I tell you, like, family is so important and it's so impactful, and to be at full-fledged war with your siblings. I mean, seriously, siblings,
yeah,
mom, dad, stuff. It was crazy, and it set me back, and it's almost in a way like a blur now because of where we're at. But I
yeah,
just know something inside of me said, keep going, keep fighting, keep striving, and don't give up. And that was the thing that just I say God had his hands on me, and it's evidence that is real. But I knew deep down inside, I said, I don't want this to continue. It was just inside of me. I don't want
yeah,
this to continue. I
yeah,
don't want the war. I don't want my children warring with each other. I don't want them saying my dad wasn't around. I don't want them dealing with the environmental traumas that I faced and,
right.
psychological. I don't want them going through that. So I got to fight, to make sure that those things don't happen. And I have to be intentional. Like, it wasn't, a lot of us get lackadaisical and we do things without planning. But y'all know that saying, if you don't, he who fails to plan plans to fail. And that stuck with
Absolutely.
me. That stuck with me. That
Yeah.
stuck with me. And then the serenity prayer, it really got me through a lot of things. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can,
I
and the
can.
wisdom to know the
The
difference.
difference,
I
yeah.
promise you, if you study that, man, and really break it down, slow it down, study it and digest it, it can get you through a lot of the hard times, because there are things that are going to happen in life that you have no control over. Like, I
Right.
was 13 years old, and my uncle was like my only father figure. And I used to have a thing on the east side called the Strip. It was on 23rd,
Yep.
thousands of cars with.
Yeah.
Okay, my uncle was the one who died. He was the first and only person that died, but I was standing next to him when he got shot
Wow.
and killed. So I remember that like it was yesterday. And when I tell you, it changed the fabric of my life. That trauma just
Man.
looked like, he was 29 years old. But hearing about a death of somebody is hard.
And
But
seeing it,
seeing it
yeah.
at 13 years old, I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. I ain't got no dad in my life. My uncle is the only father figure I got, and I lost him too. When I tell you, man, I felt like I was in purgatory, bro. I was like, why? What did I do wrong? Not knowing that moment was preparing me to be able to handle greater adversities, because I didn't understand having to deal with that pain at 13 years old. I didn't get it. But then now as a man, I had to face several other pains throughout my life. But guess what? None of them were greater than that. So every other pain I
Right.
faced, I could handle it. I was like, well, it ain't this bad. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I had went through what I consider the greatest pain that I had to endure at 13 years old. And I didn't choose that, man. I didn't do anything wrong as a 13-year-old kid
Yeah.
walking with my uncle, happy that I got some kind of father figure in my life, some kind of man, and then boom, he taken away from me. And when I
Yep.
tell you, like I said, man, the state of confusion, and I remember like it was yesterday, and I was angry for a long time, and I still miss him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
27 years later, I still miss them. So it don't just go away. And I look at death a little bit different, but it don't just go away. But it still fueled me, man, to be able to drive and say, hey, look, I ain't going to give up. I ain't going to quit. I already know what pain feel like. So you can't scare me with it. That's just like, I've been to prison. So when people like, afraid of that or feel threatened, I face that obstacle myself, man. I'm a military. This is what's funny. I'm literally a military vet. Okay, so I went to the military, U.S. Coast Guard. I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. You know what I'm saying? I'm a college graduate, got associate's and bachelor's degree, but I'm also a felon. And so people hear that and they like, yo, whoa, man, it can happen too. I did 20 months. I was gone, and my family still thrived and survived because I set that blueprint. When you put that blueprint out there, man, and it's solid, then and God got his hands around your family, y'all gonna be okay. So it's nothing you could tell me in life that can intimidate me, that can put fear in my. I done seen it, man. I done been through the fire. Like I said, when you been like through the fire, you when you see a little bit of flickers and people trying to come at you a certain way, it doesn't intimidate you, because I know for a fact, if I didn't have purpose, I wouldn't be here. Okay.
Man.
I would not be here if I didn't have purpose. And I know for a fact that if God wasn't in my life, that he wouldn't have carried me through the storms that I couldn't have made it through on my own. And I will tell anybody, man, like we look at those perfect lives and the people shining and showing you what they want you to see, because that's what we do. We show people the sides that we want them to see. But the storms are very, very real, and a lot of them couldn't survive it. So I know that I've lived through things and survived things the average person couldn't make it through. So now, how do you cast doubt in my mind at this point? You can't, because I've seen the miracles of God. I've seen them.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So when you seen them and you actually lived them, and then the other thing too is this. The Bible says, a tree by the fruit it bears. Okay. My children are my fruit, as they are to anybody else, and that was the thing I looked at. I looked at celebrities. I looked at certain great people per se. And it's kind of like, I was like, well, how did kids turn out? That was kind of something that was interesting to me. I'm like, it ain't just about what you accomplish as an individual. Because if you think about it, when you even think about Dr. Martin Luther King, and you're like, hey man, he was a major icon, but then it's like, what are his kids doing? Are they at the forefront now? Because they're alive. And then recently, when they got to tripping over his Bible being sold, I was like, is that real? Is that really happening? When I saw that, I was like, come on, man. Like, that ain't what your father represented. And we got to understand what legacy means. And this is one of the keys, another key to my parenting. I say, look, parent with your grandchildren in mind.
In mind,
okay?
absolutely.
Parent with your so as I raise my children, I don't raise my children just as, okay, I'm raising my kids. I'm raising my kids with full intention of meeting my grandkids. And what that looks like for me means I don't care about fashion and jewelry and popularity. I care about passing down generational wealth, land, businesses, because you can't pass a job down. Okay, right. It has to be entrepreneurship. And I look at what the Waltons did. Again, I studied the greats. So the Waltons keep being born rich. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to worry about the struggles that that we have to face. They're born this way, man. They're born this way. Right. And I say, you know what? If someone takes the time in our generation and says, you know what, I'm going to plan for my grandchildren, then by the time the grandkids get there, things are put together. And it's not, again, we move away from materialisms to positioning, to land ownership, to generational wealth, to entrepreneurship. And that's something that I wanted. So I literally plan with my grandchildren in mind.
Man, it's crazy. Most people talk about generational wealth, but they do not have a generational mindset.
No, not at all. Not even a plan. Not even a generational plan.
No plan. And to be honest, a lot of us have been groomed to just make it day by day. So how can we even think in terms of generations whenever we're constantly in fight or flight and we're just conditioned to live in a survival type mindset where, as of right now, I'm just grateful I made it to Friday, right?
Right.
How are we going to think leaps and bounds in generations when a lot of us are just grateful to make it to Friday?
Right.
So talk about that, bro, because dude, this is a blessing. And this is why I definitely give God like all the glory when it comes to this. One of my friends, he said, man, I just hate that I feel like I'm not where I want to be at. And I said, bro, we seen somebody die at the age of 15, right? Mom had cancer. Mom had stroke, loss of memory. Had to be the father of the household, right? Father incarcerated, all these things that go, right? I said, bro, for us to even be in a position to where we can think clearly with a conceptualized idea of what we're doing now that surpass pride, surpass judgment, surpass envy, surpass self-doubt, to surpass all these lower levels of consciousness, to be in where we at now is a blessing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Because most people don't do it. Let's keep it real. Most people do not go through hell to get to the point to where they can do that. Right. That, if you look at the odds statistically, that was not supposed to happen.
No, not at all. But then that's a testament that says you were chosen. So one of the things that I say in my home is, how do you know who God's chosen people are? They're the ones who survive the storm. So that's the thing about it. Go to any scripture. It doesn't matter what. Go read on the prophets, on the messengers, on the believers, and whatever book you're reading from. Those powerful people that you look up to, they face adversity and tribulation.
Absolutely,
and that's how they were chosen, through the fact that they made it through the storms. So we don't look at that again. Our society looks at, who's out there without any blemishes, who, made it and they don't have any problems. I go back, and then that's when I reference Malcolm X. I'm like, do you know who Malcolm Little was? Like, y'all talk about Malcolm X. You know who Malcolm Little? Study Malcolm Little. Study Malcolm Little, okay? Y'all study him and look at the stuff he done, and then look how great he became. I'm just not one of those people. Here's the thing. If society was going to give us the best blueprint, we would already be better, man. We would already be better. So look at the people, like, again, study those greats, man, that survived major storms, but their story is so crazy. Like, one thing I remind people, in addition to Malcolm X, excuse me, is Nelson Mandela. Most of the young people don't know who that is. Okay. Nelson Mandela went to prison, came out, became the president of South Africa. But when we say that, we're not really thinking about what we're saying. He was in prison 27 years, bro.
Right.
I ain't talking about like 2 years, 3,
right.
5, 8,
27.
27. I can't even fathom what that's like. And this is what I say, man. This is one of the things that humbles me. Okay. One of the things that humbles me, I say, God, no matter what you took me through, it wasn't 27 years. So thank you. Hey, man, listen, man. Nelson Mandela at the forefront, bro. Hey, look, I've been through some heavy storms. I ain't did no 27 years in prison, bro.
Man.
20. So when you feel like complaining, go Google Nelson Mandela, man.
Yeah.
You know, Google what he had to go through to get ready for his mission, because we have to go through things to be prepared for our mission. So it made me stop complaining, man. And then there was another book. It's called The Slave Narratives. I literally implore everybody to get a copy. It's different variations. And what The Slave Narratives is about is people interview slaves or former slaves in the early 1900s. And what that looked like was they were asking them, because, you know, they couldn't read and write. They could talk to the best of their ability. And you got to read the ones that are unedited. Okay. You don't want the ones where they're interpreting what they're saying. You want it where the slave is speaking like they know how to speak. And a lot of these people at the age of interview were in their 90s, just to let you know in context of how this worked. Well, in the slave narratives, they're talking about what their daily life was like on that plantation. I ain't talking about watching Roots, bro. I ain't talking about watching 12 Years a Slave or none of these movies. Man, listen to these people's voices. Listen to their stories. And I promise you, it was just so humbling for me, because I was one of those people. God, why you do this to me? Why you take my uncle? Why? Man, I started reading the slave, and I said, whoa. I was like, whoa. Like, yo, bro, they just went through what? They did what? And I said, thank you. I tell them thank you every day. Thank you. Because I'm telling you, man, whatever you're facing, when you look at what our people as a whole face, you saying it's 400 years of slavery. Then you talking about Jim Crow. Then you talking about civil rights. Then you talking about mass incarceration. I said, bro, listen, I won't complain. Complain, man, because when you think about what that looks like, and then even when I was incarcerated, man, and this is crazy because I actually, you know, having 2 college degrees, I learned more in prison than I did in college. I know people don't want to hear that, and that's not a popular thing to say. And I'm not saying go to prison to learn anything, but what it did, let's talk about what it did. It slowed me down. Right. Hey, man, be still. That's what it was about. God's message to me through that was be still. Be still, okay? And I need you to study and learn. So I did the most reading, and I literally read over, I want to say 60 books while I was incarcerated. That's why I did my most reading. And now it's like standard to me. I'm like, man, you better have a book. You better be reading something. Yeah. We miss out on those things, but and I never in life would have thought, and most people wouldn't think that you could take a bad situation and something good can come out of it. But I go back to nature with that one. And I tell people this, you know, when you see your beautiful plants, because again, my family is a garden. When you see the beautiful plants, they have to have fertilizer, right? Absolutely. Fertilizer is cow manure. Okay. So this is something a creature's defecating, and then you're using that to fertilize and grow something else. Well, what message is that? You can take some of the most horrible situations, some of the biggest storms, some of the greatest challenges, and you can use that as fertilizer in your life. So whatever, like what I tell people is when you throw stones at me, bro, I'm building houses. Absolutely. And I got a real estate company on me. So keep tossing. I'm gonna keep because it's motivation. It's motivation. The reason I tell those sides of my story, bro, because I'm not ashamed of anything. I'm grateful to show the world that no matter what the devil throw at you, no matter what your haters throw at you, no matter what society throw at you, if God chose you, if you are intentional about your purpose, you still gonna grow. And then when you see, like, I'm the rose in the concrete, bro. The one that they was like, hey, you ain't gonna grow. I said, I beg to differ. I will. Right. Just give me time. Right. Just be patient. Go ahead.
The beauty of it, I think, is that people should be able to take encouragement that even when you're at your lowest, it's still a part of the process.
It is.
It's still a part of the process, bro. It's just we get so wrapped up with looking at the condition as our sense of identity. So we perceive our season as who we are. Right. And we got it totally messed up, man. But if you can always keep that idea like, dude, this is a part of the process, you can appreciate it no matter where you at in life.
Yeah, no matter where you at in life. Go ahead.
That's it, man. So I want to say this. There's Elijah, you mentioned being a part of a Phi Beta Sigma fraternity incorporated, and I'll tell you, this is where you and I met. And here's something that when we talk about the foundation of kind of who you are and what you share and what you teach in your family and in the community, one of the things that I always look back on and can appreciate. And I don't know if I've ever said this to you publicly, but it has to be said today, is thank you. Because one of the things that I learned in you were instrumental in my becoming a part of this fraternity. 20 years ago, the experience of becoming a member of this fraternity, in the short time that we spent together and that you spent as a leader and a guide through me and my 9 other brothers who came into this fraternity together at Langston University in the Beta Epsilon chapter, the very lesson that we can attribute so much of our success in our fraternity, in our personal lives, is that you made it very clear that we were to step up to being our best selves, who we were. Not the best version of the brothers on campus or the best version of who they thought we were supposed to be, but you constantly drove into us that you're here to be your best self, you. So if that ain't you, don't do that. Don't need to be that or try to be that. And that, like, we see that 20 years later in the lives of your children and in the lives of those of us who you touched.
Yeah.
Like, I'm saying that I'm a testament to that in who I am, because we walked away. The 10 of us walked away in that experience going, okay, I'm on a mission to be my best self, which means this is how I show up. Not this is the mold that they're setting for us here. And those of you who know us and who know me personally, you know the truth in that. And so I don't want us to finish without saying thank you from the community.
Yeah, bro.
Elijah,
like,
thank you from the community, bro.
Man, and it's so crazy when I think about it coming full circle. Me and Elijah had a conversation. He was thanking me for some of the things that we've done with Modern Manhood. Just saying, dude, you guys have created the only platform for men like this in a space like this. There's no one else doing this. So why wouldn't people not be behind this? He's like, I have no understanding why no one would not want to be behind this all the way in the way that we are. But I think about the beauty of even 20 years ago, bro, you was impacting Dr. Damon's life. You know what I'm saying? And for it to come around full circle and you be contributing where you are, like, dude, we really, really gratefully appreciate you. Like, I have been waiting for this interview for a long time. And I didn't even know Elijah before we had the first meetup. Elijah came to the first meetup. And when he came and told his story, I was like, okay, we got to keep doing this. This is bigger than us. When you came, you helped me realize, like, this is really bigger than us. And I told Damon about you. And Damon was like, I already know him. I was like, oh, my bad. I'm late to the party. My bad. You know what I'm saying? So,
it's crazy because here's the thing. At that time, I knew what I felt. And a lot of people don't know this. Back when I was their assistant, dean and helped cross them, I faced adversity in doing that at a HBCU, man, because, that's, people was pledging at that time and they wanted to beat on them. And I was just like, nah, bro, that ain't happening. And I actually got kind of outcasted and, blackballed for that. And was just like, hey, man, I'll fight every last one of y'all. I ain't letting y'all, whoop on these dudes. It's about them building a brotherhood and beating down the next brother, telling them that's the only way he could be your brother. That sounds like a gang to me. Like, we ain't no gang, man. We're a fraternity. And not knowing that and I said this too. I said they was going to be the greatest line to ever cross at Langston, and I promise you they are. They rock it, like, for real, for real. In addition to that, not knowing that planting that seed grew the tree that provided my shade. Make sure people understand that. Slow that down. Planting that seed grew the tree that provided my shade, because with Dr. Damon and you creating a platform that allowed me to tell my story and open up, and I've never had that opportunity in my life. When I tell you, bro, that the Manhood Masterclass was the first time in my life I had ever cried in front of men. I'm 41 years old, bro, and I don't cry. My kids will tell you, like, I ain't never seen daddy cry. That was the first time that I opened up around men, because I understand how we have to protect our image. I understand how we look at, tears as a point of vulnerability. But, bro, I felt so safe. The energy felt so genuine. And this is after I've been betrayed, stabbed in the back, slandered. People ask me now, man, after you went through that, bro, how are you able to trust? Again, I follow the steps. I follow God's footprints. You know what I mean? Like I follow that, and he brought me there. And when I'm seeing the when I'm here, because Damon wasn't there at that
Right,
one, and I didn't even know he was involved at the time. Man. It just blew my mind, you know, when I met you and I found out later on. I'm like, wow, you know, this is crazy. But man, I truly appreciate what y'all brothers is doing, man. And it touched and changed my life. And I got my kids involved, and I advocate real heavy. Anybody, trust me, man, this is a blessing, not just to our community, but this will be replicated nationally and globally, because I'm telling you, if we fail without this platform, if men cannot heal, and I want to make it very clear on what this is. This is a space for men to heal. And trust me when I tell you we broken and we don't have a place for that, because I've been looking for years, bro. I've been looking for years. And to go somewhere judgment-free where they say, look, man, we got you. Man, it's a blessing. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, appreciate that, bro.
Thank you.
God, man. Dang!
Wow, man. Man.
Sheesh. Boy, you better be glad I got my shades on.
I don't. And listen, man, thank you for that. This is the beginning, man. And we receive that. We receive that, man, completely. Y'all, I don't think there's anywhere to go from here except to tell you guys that the masterclass is tomorrow.
Yeah,
it is.
Like, there's nowhere to go from this space of understanding, really just your journey and the power that you have sown in your family and in your legacy and in yourself, because that's where it began. You know, you tell the story of how you had to be placed by God in a space where you really had to see yourself and decide who you want to be and what that looks like generations to come. And parenting with your grandchildren in mind, and studying those who have come before you, because you know that you're not reinventing the wheel. No. You're taking the wheel and building a better vehicle from those who have already done that. So when we say that, this is what we've built. This is how we feel about what we've created with the masterclass. And this is tomorrow. So we're doing a masterclass tomorrow. And I'm going to bring up the visual. And I want you guys to really understand what we're talking about here. The masterclass is an experience. It's a live experience and an opportunity for men to come together. And our goal in coming together for those 2 hours is for us to see ourselves clearly, to see ourselves and our values and our ideal self for who we know ourselves to be, and to not only see, but to put in the work, the introspection, the reflection, and the community work together to learn to walk into that space. Every single man who comes to our experiences walks out a better man.
No question. No question.
So tomorrow at Rose State College at 10 o'clock, we are inviting you men to show up for yourself, for your family, and for your community. We're gonna celebrate what it looks like to be a man in a modern world that's asking more of us than just being a provider and protector. And we're gonna show up and we're gonna show out. So, yo, we're excited about this because we are partnering with Rose State College, who has given us an entire building to do this tomorrow. An entire building. And we're excited to really partner with an organization and a program that really wants to see us thrive and grow. So for any male students who are 17 and older, come for free. I want you to register on the website, but you don't have to. Show up and register on the spot. So if you know any men, any brothers, any young brothers who are 17 and older, they need to be at Rose State College, the Community Learning Center, tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And I'm not saying they need to come alone, because that means you need to come with them.
Absolutely.
Come in there and be in the lobby or be in the auditorium, be in the space that says we value what it looks like for our community to have strong, intentional, vulnerable, yet powerful men to make sure that our grandchildren have what they deserve.
Man,
I love it.
That's real.
I love it.
Real. That's real.
I think this is what Damon says. Donnell, tell them what we got coming up. All right, so you guys, he mentioned it. Elijah, man, thank you so much for coming on our platform, bro, for sharing your heart. All right, I know it's never easy, for having the tenacity and courage to be vulnerable enough to tell people, man, no matter what you come from, man, if God has chosen you, you will make it through. I'm gonna say the one last thing that just hit me: we have to be the evidence of God's promises.
Ooh,
We have to be
it.
the evidence of God's promises. That is powerful, you guys. I hope this message blessed you guys. My homeboy Winfrey said it was good word, Kings. I know we've been on a little over an hour. Who else is on here? Man, shout out to everybody that showed up today. G, what's happening? What up, baby? Liz is on here. Wifey, you know what I'm saying? My best friend. Pompey, what's up? Eric, Sabrin, man, it's a lot. Kenyatta, we appreciate y'all. I also shout out to all of the volunteers for tomorrow, because we know you guys, some of y'all are volunteers. So if you love to show up to just volunteer, you're more than welcome. We really appreciate that. But listen, this masterclass is the best programming platform that I'm grateful that we was able to create and go forward with it, because this thing is on fire. So if you're looking for an amazing opportunity, too many of us do not take time out for us. This is your time. So if you're looking for the opportunity to level up in your life with brothers who are just doing amazing things, show up. Take 2 hours at your time. I got people that are like, bro, I may have to leave early. Cool. Come for an hour. Come for 30 minutes. Do whatever you need to do to just tap in, because if you come here, I guarantee the program will change your life. We've seen it happen time and time again. All right.
Absolutely. Listen, check us out. Go to our website, manhoodmasterclass.com. So you can get more episodes from our podcast, so you can learn when our next meetup is, so you can learn when our next masterclass is, so you can learn when our next 6-week virtual retreat is, because
that's going to be fire.
Listen, it's going to be amazing. So thank you, Elijah. Bro,
how can they follow you? How can they
find you?
You know, I'm on Facebook. I'm getting my Instagram and stuff together, man. So right now they can, hit me up on Facebook. Of course, Elijah Muhammad is a popular name. I'm named after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. so it's popular, but I'm on there. My icon is with my kids, and I got my family in the back, so they can follow me there. I'm in the process of building that, but at the time, like now, I'm working on Shania and my other kids, and I literally intentionally put my stuff to the side, because I'm like, my baby girl graduates and makes history in 5.5 weeks, so let's just focus on that. So and then my wife just becoming a doctor. I love you. You are my rock. If you listening, and I'm so serious, you mean everything to me. I could not do this without you. And when they tell you that behind every strong man or great man is a great woman, and I'm saying I want to challenge that. I just want to challenge that. It's not behind, it's by their side. Beside every great man is a great woman, and I got that queen, like she like that, and I'm proud of that.
Hey, she be coming with the razzle dazzle. She a little spicy, dad. She's spicy.
Wifey with that, man. Wifey with that, like. I'm blessed, bro. I got if you seen the movie 300, I got a Spartan wife for real. She ain't playing, but she with that. I ain't gotta worry about nothing. I got that Spartan.
Thank you, bro. Listen, everybody, check in with us again, manhoodmasterclass.com. And if you try to find the right Elijah Muhammad, come to us. Obviously, we listen.
He's in the man cave.
We got it.
We in the man cave. Let's go.
We're in there. Y'all need to connect with him. Y'all know y'all got to connect. Y'all got it. So we here, and vice versa, because this is we're excited about what we're building here. All right, man. Let's go out there and be great today, man.
I love you guys. Happy Friday. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace.